No matter the company, no matter the model, it's all too easy to lazily label whatever new car that comes along as an important one for the manufacturer in question, but for the arrival of the new Mazda MX-5 it's entirely fitting. As far as mainstream milestones go, the MX-5 is it, the Japanese firm having sold around 950,000 since its launch in 1989. On first exposure to this, the fourth generation, it seems it won't be long until it steals sales from the Ford Fiesta Street, Toyota GT86 or Peugeot RCZ Coupe and surpasses the million mark. It's already the best-selling roadster in history. Two engines, and it's easy to see why, the MX-5 conjuring up a whole that seems far greater than some of its parts, especially when fitted with the 1.5-litre engine. Mazda engineers actually designed the whole car around this unit, demand from America being a primary reason for the inclusion of a 2-litre engine also, and within 30 seconds of driving it you can see why. This relatively tiny engine spins incredibly freely, surpassing 7,000 revolutions per minute before nudging its limiter, and sounds fantastically enthusiastic. It adds up to an experience that is entirely in keeping with the intended sensations of this lightweight fun car. Mazda calls it joy of the moment, joy of life. There is a 2-litre, 4-cylinder petrol engine as well, which is an extra 29 bhp and 50 Nm over the 1.5-litre, improving the former's 8.3-second 062 mph time by 1 second. Truth be told, the increase in torque is particularly noticeable, and often welcome, but it lacks the purity of the smaller unit and feels coarse in comparison. We can totally understand why you'd plump for the 2-litre, but it's the best engine fitted to this 2-seat roadster. Fabric roof, operated by hand. This is a sophisticated car, but one without added complexity. Which is why you need to manually operate the folding fabric roof. The only electrical intervention present comes from the windows, which lower slightly as you unlatch the roof from the top of the windscreen rail. It'll fold back neatly into its dedicated spot behind the seats in one movement, requiring little more than a swing of your arm, and doesn't eat into any available boot space either. Often closing said roofs, twisting round and backwards with your arm to reach before lifting awkwardly, can wrench your shoulder, but this effort is so light there's little chance of such injury. Mazda's Gram strategy, which sees the 1.5-litre car weigh just 940 kilograms without a driver, is fanatical. Even the 2-litre tips the scales at just 25 kilograms more. There's extra aluminium to make the whole thing lighter, and components that won't have their integrity or strength affected where weight-saving holes with pride. Even the welded and riveted parts are formed in a wave shape to fractionally reduce materials used and lower the weight. Familiar but progressive design. People buy roadsters with their hearts, and so the attention to detail spent on how the MX-5 looks is almost as great as the time spent ensuring it drove properly. It follows the firm's familiar Kodo soul of motion design ethos, and it works best here on this stubby-tailed roadster rather than the 5-people carrier. The surfacing is expressive, the body color wrapping over the tops of the doors and into the cabin, and even standing still the MX-5 looks lithe, alert and ready to go. It has a shorter wheelbase than ever before, but the placement of the cabin means there's more room between the pedals and the front wheels, so there's no compromise in the driving position. Same goes for the bonnet, which hooks low over the front wheels, necessitating slim LED lights to maintain the correct proportions and front-face graphic. The cabin is the shortest in MX-5 history, and though it can feel slightly snug at times, it's also the best so far. There's no soft-touch plastic, but the simple detailing and layout reinforce this car's fun focus, and it feels entirely robust. Roof down, sun reflecting in your shades and with the wind in your hair, the Mazda MX-5 is like no other at this price point. Read the rest of the Parker's Mazda MX-5 review to find out why we think it deserves the full 5 stars. Performance. If Mazda MX-5 performance is a priority, then in reality it's the 2-liter engine that is the one you should buy, since it's far quicker than the characterful 1.5-liter engine, the only other option. Hold fire though, that smaller unit is such a sweet, freeing power plant we can't help but recommend it too. 1.5-liter petrol engine. Plonk yourself down in the low-slung Mazda MX-5's seat and you'll notice, in the 1.5-liter cars, that the rev counter swings all the way around to over 7,500 revolutions per minute before the numbers turn red. That's really quite high revving, and indicative of the character of this engine. On the downside, it means you will have to rev it hard to make progress. It only provides its full 129 bhp at 7,000 revolutions per minute, and the backup is just 150 Newton meters of torque, though usefully that arrives some 2,200 revolutions per minute further down the river range. And a full-bore acceleration, the MX-5 1.5-liter still manages to scrabble from 0.62 miles per hour in 8.3 seconds. And with the roof down and the wind in your hair, it feels pleasantly brisk rather than anything approaching fast. A fairly aughty exhaust note, and a characterful rise in engine noise as you rev it harder, mean you really lament its lack of straight-line performance. And on the plus side, the way this engine revs right out beyond that 7,000 revolutions per minute point with genuine fluidity and eagerness means it's an absolute pleasure to work it so hard. In fact, it sounds and feels happier at the top of its river range than it does below 4,000 revolutions per minute. You'll likely enjoy it so much that you'll quickly find yourself bouncing it off its rev limiter with regularity. 2-liter petrol engine. Clearly this engine has more mid-range get up and go, producing another 29 bhp and 50 Newton meters of torque. Some 1,000 revolutions per minute and 200 revolutions per minute respectively lower in the rev range, over the 1.5-liter unit. These numbers are borne out in the spec sheets, with a quoted 0.62 miles per hour time 1 second quicker and a top speed of 133 miles per hour versus the 1.5's 127 miles per hour, and you'll notice it on the road, especially the extra torque, since you don't have to work the car nearly as hard as its small engine brother. It's an easier car to drive fast in this respect, but back to back with the 1.5-liter this engine doesn't sound nearly as good, and nor is it as keen to rev. Both cars are fitted with a slick 6-speed manual gearbox that continues Mazda's great tradition of installing gearboxes that operate with a beautifully mechanical and slick feel to their changes. Snicking up and down the box, making use of the expertly placed and weighted pedals for heel and toe down changes, is a delight that simply adds to the overall experience of driving this roadster. Handling. From the moment you drive off in the Mazda MX-5, you'll delight in its obvious sense of balance and precision. You can thank its 5,050 weight distribution for that. The steering, while sharp and relatively lightweight, is fluid and beautifully linear with excellent communication through the relatively thin rim. This MX-5 feels darty and agile with every application of lock, a feeling emphasized by the seating position placed so close to the rear axle, the rest of the car seemingly pivoting around your hip point. Choose the 1.5-liter engine and you'll notice a fair amount of body roll. Far from leaning uncontrollably, the body simply tilts when cornered hard. In keeping with the spirit of the freeing 1.5-liter engine, it feels perfectly natural. Not only does it add to the car's lightweight feeling, it also communicates exactly what is going on and pre-warns you of any impending loss of grip. And truth be told, in this 1.5-liter there is more grip than power. Experienced drivers with the stability control disengaged, hoping to provoke the rear into a slide, will struggle to do so under power alone, the Mazda acquiring a more aggressive turn-in followed by a lift on the throttle to unsettle its balance and unstick its rubber from the tarmac. The answer can be found in the 2-liter, which has more performance on offer and the ability to upset the rear simply by burying the throttle mid-bend or halfway around a roundabout. It uses the same dampers as the 1.5-litre, but with different springs due to the weight changes, and to us it felt slightly flatter when cornering at speed. There's a firmness to its ride too, though that is attributed to the car's 17-inch rather than 16-inch alloy wheels. It's the 2-litre Sport MX-5s that are the most fun driven near the limit of grip though, thanks to standard Bilstein suspension, mechanical limited slip differential and a strut brace up front. Here is the MX-5 that can be easily steered on the throttle, with the tail swinging wide after the apex if you're aggressive enough with your inputs and easily controlled if you're quick enough to react. It's always entirely predictable though, and it remains incredibly flat, regardless of how dramatic the direction change. In reality, where the 1.5-litre MX-5 feels like an excellent fun car, it's this 2-litre especially in sport trim with the upgraded mechanicals that feels most like a proper sports car. Equipment. There are 3 distinct trim levels for the Mazda MX-5, say, and Sport, though the latter 2 can be augmented by nav trim which adds standard sat-nav. However, depending on which engine you choose, one SL car can differ slightly to the other. Standard Mazda MX-5 equipment for the entry level say you can only have the excellent 1.5-litre engine, and this car comes with a 6-speed manual gearbox, 16-inch alloy wheels and the same slimline LED headlights as the rest of the range. Inside, the windows are operated electrically, the steering wheel and knob are covered in leather and the door mirrors are heated and electrically operated. Cabin temperature is maintained by air conditioning, safety is taken care of with front and side airbags, and the stereo has 4 speakers and iPod or USB connectivity. Moving to SL adds LED daytime running lights and body-colored interior upper door trim to its image. The air conditioning is upgraded to climate control, the stereo gains DAB radio and 2 more speakers in the driver's headrest. Bluetooth connectivity and cruise control takes the strain out of longer drives. Probably the most noticeable addition is the 7-inch color touchscreen and the multimedia commander used to control it. With the 2-litre engine you also get 17-inch alloys, piano black door mirrors, limited slip differential LSD and a front strut brace. Regardless of engine, SL nav adds satellite navigation, which leaves the sport models. The 1.5 still runs on 16-inch alloy wheels without an LSD but adds the piano black door mirrors and heated leather seats. Safety is bolstered by the lane departure warning system while the lights and wipers turn theme sleeves on automatically, the former also offering an adaptive system alongside an automatically dimming rear view mirror. The excellent 9-speaker Bose stereo system is standard, with its 9 speakers, and rear parking sensors and keyless entry are included. Opt for the 2-litre model and alongside all of the above you add sports suspension with Bilstein dampers and a front strut brace, 17-inch alloys, and an LSD. Again, Sport nav adds satellite navigation. Optional Mazda MX-5 accessories after your choice of 7 colors. The extras that can be added to the Mazda MX-5 from the factory are limited. Choose from a tan leather trim upgrade or the safety pack with high beam control and blind spot monitoring with rear cross alert, on 2-litre Sport nav models only. Comfort. First and foremost, this car is about having fun. But choose the 1.5-litre say or SL, especially in Mazda MX-5. Comfort is surprisingly good. That's thanks to softer suspension in there, for this sector and this era Diddy 16-inch wheels. It's a great setup, and even from a visual point of view Mazda's Roadster doesn't look underwheeled or particularly effeminate. With the current state of UK roads, there's an argument the specification is perfect. The ride quality something of a highlight for such a fun car. With the standard 2-liter, which uses a similar suspension setup, different dampers to take into account some weight differences but the same spring specification, but 17-inch alloy wheels, it feels fractionally firmer but never uncomfortably so. It's still a supple ride, you just notice more potholes or seriously rippled tarmac more often. As you might expect, choosing the 2-liter Sport with its Bilstein dampers, the ride gets firmer still. And this model MX-5 feels the most focused yet. If you live somewhere the roads are smooth or intend to spend a lot of time on track, there's various reasons this is the perfect model to choose. There's the choice of 2 basic seats in the UK, since we don't get the excellent Recaro buckets offered in other markets, which prove comfortable and perfectly adjustable, even if the backrest is altered by a lever rather than more precise rotary control. Choose an MX-5 Sport and you benefit from speakers in the headrest as part of the 9-speaker Bose sound system, which makes listening to music on the move with the top-down a more enjoyable experience. And with the roof up, sound suppression is decent, though it's not whisper quiet, especially when bouncing off the 7,500 revolutions per minute limiter of the 1.5-liter engine. But then it's a sports car, and frankly, the sound of the tiny engine working hard, roof down, bouncing its exhaust note off surrounding cliff faces is worth every second. Practicality: there are only 2 seats, no traditional glove box or door pockets, and a boot that's 20 litres smaller than the previous generation, so as such Mazda MX-5 practicality isn't one of its major selling points. But though that boot is smaller than before, the shape has been redesigned to make it more practical, and now Mazda engineers suggest you can easily slot in a pair of cases suitable for a weekend away. But that cabin is more compact than ever before and you feel it. If it wasn't for the high transmission tunnel dividing you, it is possible to feel rather too close to your passenger. Certainly a flagrant reach for the handbrake will see you rubbing knuckles against their knee. There's very little storage inside too, the lack of door pockets a bit disappointing and the missing glove box an unfamiliar sight. A storage locker between the backs of the seats does alleviate the situation, but this is not a car for daily detritus. The roof, however, is a work of genius, and despite having no electric operation, the lightweight fabric structure can be lowered and raised in seconds, all from the comfort of the driver's seat, with genuine ease. It also proves adept at keeping wind and road noise to a minimum when raised. Safety: it's been a long time since Mazda MX-5 safety was tested by EuroNCAP. 2002 was the last time, in fact, and there are no results for the new MX-5 yet. But despite being a lightweight sports car, Mazda is keen to reinforce its proactive safety philosophy with this car, with an aim to ensure all occupants and pedestrians involved in an accident with an MX-5 are protected as comprehensively as possible. First-hand experience suggests the MX-5 is certainly strong, with a rigid body shell that shows little in the way of unexpected deformation after an incident. In an event where the front end of the car was severely impacted, both doors opened normally and the standard driver and passenger airbags protected the occupants from any injuries. Side airbags are also standard, and they are specially designed to protect the occupants' heads even when the fabric roof is lowered, while the passenger seat comes with ISOFIX mountings for a child seat. Pedestrians are just as well looked after thanks to sensors that raise the bonnet in a collision to provide more space between the sheet metal and engine hardpoints, lessening the chance of a serious injury. And of course the firm has worked hard to give drivers the best chance of avoiding an accident in the first place, with a group of safety technology under its iActiveSense umbrella. A blind spot monitoring system ensures you don't move from your lane into the side of an adjacent vehicle. Rear cross-traffic alert uses sensors to warn you when other vehicles are approaching from behind when reversing out of a blind parking space, for example. The lane departure warning system keeps you on the straight and narrow on the motorway too. An adaptive front lighting system changes the direction of the low beams to suit the curves and contours of the road, while high beam control switches between high and low beam output depending on traffic and other conditions. Reliability. Like the rest of the range, Mazda MX-5 reliability should be nigh exemplary. After all, the brand prides itself on its engineering technology and depth. Plus, in truth the MX-5 is a relatively simple car, and all the better for it, so there's not as much to go wrong in this traditional sports car package. The engines are found elsewhere in the Mazda range and should prove robust and reliable, especially since they're relatively unstressed firing around this lightweight open-top car. Talking of that top, you open and close it manually, so there are no complicated electrics to go wrong. Plus it keeps the car's overall weight down. On the original launch, the cars we drove were late pre-production models, and engineers suggested panel gaps and some materials may not be to Mazda's exacting standards. But some rivals would kill to have precision builds like the MX-5's, and though the interior is typically lacking in plush soft touch materials as is often found in Japanese models, none of it feels inferior or lacking in resistance to the wear of daily life.